For thousands of years, people have turned to the book of Proverbs as this kind of manual for living a wise, successful life. But what if I told you that hidden in plain sight, in one of its final chapters, there's a puzzle so baffling it has stumped scholars for centuries? Okay, let's dive into this ancient mystery.
So at its core, Proverbs offers timeless advice, right? It's really a collection of collections, just filled with practical and spiritual guidance on, well, everything from hard work to friendship. The whole point is to make you smarter, better, wiser.
But then you get to chapter 30, and wow, it's considered one of the most enigmatic parts of the entire book, and it kicks off with a verse that seems to just break all the rules of translation.
And here is where the puzzle really begins. Get this, one major translation reads the verse as this cry of exhaustion, "I am weary, O God," but another one translates it as a formal declaration, "This man's utterance to Ithiel." How? How can one ancient Hebrew sentence lead to two completely different modern meanings? I mean, this isn't a tiny disagreement. It's a massive contradiction, and it's the key to unlocking this whole story.
So, to solve this puzzle, we first have to investigate the man who actually wrote these confusing words. His name is Agur, and he is a complete and total mystery.
So who was this guy? The Bible tells us almost nothing about him or his father, Jacob. Their names don't pop up anywhere else, which right away makes them stand out.
One biblical scholar, Dr. Knut Heim, points out that Agur's name is pretty unusual. It might not even be Israelite. And this has led to a really fascinating theory. What if Agur was a foreigner who converted to the faith of Israel? I mean, if Hebrew was his second language, that could explain some of the strange, difficult phrasing that makes this chapter so tough to translate. It's our first major clue.
The next clue? It's even stranger. For a man whose words are in a book about wisdom, Agur says some shockingly, unwise things about himself.
He just flat out says, "Surely I am too stupid to be human." I mean, think about that for a second. In a book all about the pursuit of knowledge, we have a contributor who claims he has the intelligence of an animal. It feels completely out of place. Is this guy just really down on himself? Or is something else going on here?
Well, Dr. Heim argues this isn't self-loathing. It's actually a brilliant rhetorical strategy. He calls it exaggerated humility. See, Agur is in the middle of a prayer. By dramatically playing up his own ignorance, he's trying to motivate God to step in and help. He's basically saying, "God, I know I don't know anything, and that's exactly why I need you."
In that desperate, humble prayer, it gets a response. But it is not the one Agur or any of us would ever expect. The whole dialogue takes this sudden, dramatic turn.
All of a sudden, the voice changes, and the text just erupts with a series of powerful, cosmic questions. Dr. Heim calls it a machine gun of rhetoric, fired one after another, starting with this.
And they just keep coming, each one bigger and more impossible than the last.
The pace is just relentless. This isn't some gentle inquiry. It's a powerful confrontation, and it's designed to completely reframe the entire conversation.
Which brings us to the crucial question, who is the speaker here? I mean, Agur just confessed his total ignorance. Does it make any sense that he would suddenly start asking questions where the answer is so obviously God?
No. The most compelling interpretation is that the speaker has changed. This is God answering Agur. And just like in the story of Job, God doesn't give him facts or simple answers. Instead, he answers Agur's crisis with more questions. Questions designed to shift Agur's focus away from his own limitations and onto God's absolute power. And this divine confrontation, it completely shatters Agur's old understanding of wisdom and replaces it with something so much more profound. And Agur gets it. The light bulb goes on, his breakthrough is immediate, and he responds, "Every word of God proves true. He is a shield to those who take refuge in him." He understands now. The goal isn't to know everything, but to trust the one who does.
And this, right here, is the core lesson of the entire chapter. Agur's journey completely redefines wisdom. It's not about piling up knowledge so you can rely on yourself. True wisdom is all about intellectual humility and faithful dependence on God.
So, Agur's had this mind-blowing revelation. How does he apply this new, radical understanding of wisdom to his everyday life? Well, he boils it all down into one of the most famous and practical prayers in the entire Bible. He asks God for just two things. First, keep him honest. And second, a request that sounds so simple but is incredibly deep.
Give me neither poverty nor riches, but just what I need.
So I pray for that. Why the middle? Because he realizes that both extremes are spiritually dangerous. If he asks too much, he'll be tempted by pride, he'll become self-reliant and say, "Who is the Lord? I don't need him." But if he has too little, he'll be tempted by desperation to steal and dishonor God's name.
So Agur is praying to live in the middle way, a state of life where he has enough to not be desperate, but not so much that he ever forgets his need for God. It's a life that's designed for constant reliance and trust.
And that leaves us with this final thought. Agur's strange, confusing, and profound chapter forces us to ask ourselves, are we pursuing wisdom so we can rely on ourselves, or so we can better rely on God? Is true wisdom really about knowing all the answers, or is it about knowing who to trust when you don't?